so we're happy with the way everything's fitting on the bike now. So now we've got to remove all this fairing, get it out of the road and put it in a safe place so I don't get any scratches on it. And so we can get access to the battery box and work out where we're going to put all the controls and everything. So let's get all this off the bike and go to our next step. Alright, so now we've exposed the battery box. We can put stuff probably on the front there. On the top we've got some room here. We just have to lay everything in place and move it around. We've got the cables for the motor here, so we'll have to see how far they reach, because there's not unlimited cable length there. We'll have to see where that reaches to as well, and that'll gauge where the motor controller might be able to fit. So let's just have a bit of a play with some positioning and see where everything's going to go. Alright, so I've placed in the lower set of batteries on their side, because then I can put the next row, go straight over top. But obvious problem there, how do I get to the battery terminals? I could put them together and then slide them into position. But I think that's going to be a little bit too hard, I think. So I think what we might try is placing the batteries in all facing up, so we can get to the terminals, and might just make it easier, then work out how we're going to support the middle row batteries. Anyway, we'll turn around the other way and see how we go with that. Going down into the battery box, as you can see, we've got welds on the inside of the box where we need to pack out a little bit, just so the batteries don't rub on the weld. So we need to make sure the batteries are clear of the welds, which isn't a problem because we've got a bit of room to move. So we put it using some self-adhesive rubber down in some of the sides of the boxes, and then we're using the smaller stuff to make it pack in a bit tighter. So I'm going to put a piece on either side and see how the batteries fit in facing up. Alright, so we've got the back row, the bottom row, and the front row will sit just over top of the battery. I think this is the best way to get them all in there. We'll put something in between there and here in the wall in this space to stop them going forward, and we'll put something down in this space that'll go across the top of the bottom row of batteries to support, to stop that moving. So everything, once it's all in place, and we have blocks on the top section from the lid holding them down, once we put all those braces in place, the batteries aren't going to go anywhere, because we don't want any movement, because any movement in the batteries could loosen the terminals. So we don't want that happening. So we just got to measure up, see what sort of material we're going to use between the batteries to keep them in place. And once we've got that worked out, we'll work out how we're going to wire them all up. Alright, so I think I'm going to fit the BMS at the front there, and we'll put on some plastic sheeting that's insulated. And I just got to change these two lugs on here because they're lugs I just had lying around. I've got the proper lugs here, and thankfully I can stack them without them holding each other up. So I'll be able to put one under another, and those two lugs will go on those cables down there. So I'm going to have to file carefully the sides of those lugs to get them off without damaging any of the strands underneath. So we'll see how we go with that. Yeah, so to get the old lugs off, I'm basically just filing it down just gently until, oops, can't see that, until I can see a couple of wires or a crack appear. Then I know I can open it up and safely pull those strands out. I don't want to cut any more off because I need the cable that's there. So we'll just keep grinding away until we get through it. So there we go, got it opened up with minimal damage to the cable. So didn't have to shorten the cable any. We'll be able to put the new lugs on here and put some heat shrink on, and it'll be good as new. Before I go too much further, I think I might have to clear the bench and make some room. Okay, so I've got two sets of crimpers here. My old set is just some mechanical crimpers, but it doesn't crimp a very wide section of the lug. So I'm going with my hydraulic crimpers, which crimp a wider area and put a lot more pressure and make it look it's a lot nicer crimp as well. And then we will put some heat shrink over it. I was able to save all the strands, didn't damage any strands, taking the old lugs off. So we'll be able to put the lugs on that way on the battery, so we don't have to worry about spacing or doing anything. And so that should go on nicely and be able to tension up on the battery once it's all fitted. So let's get that crimped up. Okay, so we've got the bit of wood in place now, and the batteries, top row of batteries will fit on top, so that'll support the top row over the bottom row of batteries. We've got the holes put in for the BMS cables to go through to each of the cells, and so next thing we've got to do is work out how we're going to also mount the BMS in there so it doesn't move around, and complete connecting up the main cables. We're not going to put any links in, because otherwise we put links in then we've got some live sections of batteries, whereas while we've got open terminals we don't really have too much trouble unless we go across one battery. But for now we're going to leave the links off and put all the cables in just so we can see how everything's going to run before we have to pull it all apart again when we remove the box for painting. So for now we're just going to see how everything's going to fit in. So basically putting it together so we know it's all going to work before we pull it apart, paint it, and then put it together for the last time for real. Alright, so I've got a piece of plastic board I had lying around that I'm thinking of mounting the BMS to and fitting it up against the wall there so it'll basically sit on top of the batteries but also mount the BMS to it. So we'll just put that in and see how that's going to fit. Alright, so I have mounted the BMS to the plastic board, and it all seems to be sitting in there nicely down on top of the batteries just behind the terminals. The lead just reaches, we couldn't go any shorter on those, so good thing we can cut them off. And we'll work out what we're going to do for these two leads coming up, whether we join them inside the box or bring them through and then put them onto some sort of a terminal. But for now we just have to put all the other batteries in and see how we're going to fix everything into place. And we've still got another couple of terminals to put in. We need a cable from the bottom terminal here up to the top row of batteries, which aren't in there at the moment. and then a couple of links, and yeah, we're getting closer. Okay, so we've got the front of the batteries all buttoned down, so that'll be right once it's all put back together again. I know that's all going to clamp the batteries down the bottom and the BMS and everything in position so nothing can move. We've got the link going down to the bottom row of batteries. Now we've got to get the positive out of the box going up to the controls. So there's a couple of ways I can do it. I could come out the back here, but then I don't have enough room over the top of these connections to get the cables through, because I've got this 50mm orange cable that goes through there. So my other option would be to come out the top of the box, which I think might be a better option. Looks like we've got plenty of room there to get some bend on the cable once the other 6mm lid's put on top. So it might just come straight out the top of the box, and that'll be a better option, rather than, I don't want to damage any of the structure for the box either. So we'll try and measure up and see how we can come out the top and where we can do that. Alright, so I'm going to bring the cable out the top of the box. So we've got the lug on the cable so we can get a good positioning and see how much bend we've got in the cable. So I'll bring it up there, and that'll go, so this will be the first hole we drill into our 6mm lid. So yeah, got to go out 100mm and across 50mm, and then that means that the cable gland, nuts and everything will miss all this assembly under here, and then from there then we can work out where everything's going to go on top. So we'll drill that hole, we'll place the lid on and see where we're going to go from there. Alright, so I'm just drilling some holes in for the contactor to screw into, and obviously I don't want to go pulling the batteries and everything out. I also don't want this drill going through, so I've just made up a little sleeve to go over the drill bit, and that'll stop it going through and hitting the batteries. Even though I'm going slow, I don't want a chance damaging a battery underneath, because that could be catastrophic. So yep, just put a little sleeve over it, and then we can drill knowing that we're not going to hit the battery. So there we go, there's one of the contactor bolts drilled and tapped. 3 more to go. Alright, now I've got the pre-charge resistor installed. So what will happen, the power comes through this line here, through the fuse to contactor 1. When contactor 1 energizes, it brings power to here, then which allows power to flow through the pre-charge resistor to the motor controller, and then when you press start button, this contactor 2 comes in, which puts full power through the resistor and bypasses the resistor. So I was looking for somewhere to mount the resistor, and found that probably our best way is to just heat shrink it to the cable that goes to the motor controller. So because it's not going to heat up, because it's only momentary. So it hasn't got a load go through it, it's only on for a split second, and then the charge is up, so this isn't drawing any current while it's charging. So that will do the job right there, rather than trying to screw it down to somewhere on the box. Sometimes the easiest option's often the best. So there we go. So now that we've got the motor controller mostly connected, next thing we've got to look at how we're going to fix it into position. Now we've got the holes either side for holding the lid down, so we might use those holes to help hold this piece into position. So I'll put a piece of aluminium either side and use those holes to anchor it in position, and then put another couple of screws in just so we can tighten it down, and just wedging it in position, it's not going to go anywhere. Even if it did slide sideways slightly, it's not going to hit on anything or short on anything. So we'll use the existing holes in the lid to hold the ends down, and I'll put 2 more screws in the middle just to make sure it's anchored nice and tight down to the lid of the box. So we'll start drilling some holes. Alright, so I've got the aluminium in, and we've got using the existing holes to hold the lid down, to hold those two strips in place. Now that in theory would probably be enough. Don't expect this to go anywhere once those are in, but we will put 2 more screws in just to anchor it down nice and firm, just in case the screw was to come loose at some point, just as a bit of insurance. So we'll put 2 more a little bit closer in, because as you can see that's out from the motor controller a bit. So we'll put 2 more screws central of the strips. Once they're tapped in and fitted to the box, there's no way that this is going to go anywhere. So yeah, we'll drill some more holes and get those tapped in place. Okay, so we just put a hole through the box for the BMS monitoring cable, but the box is 6mm thick and there's not a lot of thread on the monitoring cable, so we've countersunk the hole from the outside with a 16mm bit, which allows the cable connection to sit in a bit further into the box, and now gives me some thread to do the nut up on the back to hold it in position. So another job done. Alrighty, so just making up a couple of cables here that go to the 2 chargers. So we've got one charger that charges the main batteries and we've got the second charger which is powered from the main batteries to charge the bike's battery. Most of the connections we've got a crimp connection, so they're fine, but this is a screwed connection, so I've just soldered the stranded wire just so we don't have any issues with the cable squashing down and becoming loose under the connection, because it's really fine strands, so it's best to solder those ones. So we'll just get another one of those made up and then we'll move to the next step. Okay, so we've got all of the wiring from the batteries through the controllers fitted into the bike. Plenty of room here, so room wasn't a problem because the tank's quite big that sits over top and it's been hollowed out, so we don't have any issues there. So we've got the main positive coming out from the batteries through the fuse to contactor 1. Now we've got one wire coming into the live side of contactor 1, that'll be going to the charger for the main batteries. And then we've got the second wire on the dead side, so when we activate contactor 1, that'll go to the voltage regulator that charges the battery on the bike at 13.8 volts as recommended for the batteries on these bikes. Okay, so once the dead side of contactor 1 becomes live, then on contactor 2 we have the pre-charge resistor which will supply power and pre-charge the motor controller, ready for when contactor 2 comes in, which is a press of the start button, brings in contactor 2, so that puts full power onto the motor controller from that point. Now the pre-charge resistor just stops inrush current, so we don't damage the motor controller, so that's why that's in place. We have got the 3 legs to the motor on here, and this wire here goes out to the controls up on the screen here. What else have we got in here? We've got the neutrals coming out, or the negative coming out there, so that'll be all covered up once we've put in properly. We've still got to put our heat shrink on, but I just wanted to show that all the connections, all the lugs have been crimped with the hydraulic crimper, so they're nice and solid, so I don't have any worries of a crimp failing. So I think we're well on the way now of moving forward to the next stage, which is pulling it all out. So I'll put the heat shrink on and we'll do one more quick little video so you can see what it's going to look like, and then we can start pulling it apart again. Alrighty, so we've got everything in the bike now, the batteries are in it, all the wiring, everything's roughed in, everything's on board except for the fairing. So what I want to do now is get an idea on what the bike weighs to see if we're within the limits. because we do have the charger on board, which has got a little bit of weight in it. I can remove it if I need to, but would rather have it all on board so that everything is with us the whole time and we don't have to go find the charger. So let's see what she weighs. Alright, so we've got the scales under the front of the motorcycle, so we're going to activate them and then we're going to lower the full weight of the bike onto the scales. So here we go, let's see what she weighs. Going down. Alright, so that's the first weight, 60.5 kilograms. Alright, let's try and weigh the back of the bike again. $69 kilograms. Good. Okay, so like we said at the start of this project, one of the key criteria is not to exceed the original weight for any modification. So we have done a combined weight of this bike once it's finished with the charger and everything on board, and we come to a combined weight of 132.6 kilograms. Now this bike with the petrol engine was 151 dry weight and 154 wet weight. So we are 20 kilograms under the original weight of the motorcycle, which means we can keep moving forward, and that's a win-win for us.